Today's teardown is massive. Well, okay, it's not as big as the engine I did a couple weeks ago, but today we're going to take apart a Duramax LLY. It's a GM 6.6 liter, well, excuse you, 6.6 liter turbodiesel V8. This one is from an 05 Silverado 2500. The LLY, which is the RPO code, is like LS1 for the 5.7 V8. The LLY is usually the favored early Duramax engines because the injectors are easy to replace. You don't have to pull a lot of parts off to replace the injectors. I know that much, but I don't know what else I'm doing. I'll be completely honest with you. My experience with these engines is very, very little. So if I do things in the wrong order, call things by the wrong name, or say something dumb, it's because I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm doing. Just want to put that out there. This engine came from the very same place I bought that 6.7 liter Cummins from, and I paid the exact same amount of money for it, which I feel is a pretty good deal. I got $600 in this engine. It has a ton of good parts on it. It has a turbo on it. It has injectors on it. So I don't really fear recovering my money. I don't think this is going to be a loss. Even if the inside of this is like a bomb went off, I think I'm going to be just fine. But before I start zipping bolts out of it, if you're looking for one of these engines, an LLY or an LB7, I almost always have those in stock. I think I have both in stock right now. So if you need one, I'm going to leave our email in the video description. Shoot us an email and we'll get you some quotes and maybe send you some run videos on them. Anyway, let's get started, and I want to show you a few things that I found walking around this engine are a little alarming. For starters, some of the hoses are cut. And typically when I buy a core that's someone's old engine, there are no cut hoses at all because no one's going to take the time to install a cut hose. And also, one of the injectors has got some butt connectors, which, again, no issues with butt connectors, but obviously someone has been in there. And then there is a rubber hose underneath this turbo inlet, and it is split wide open. So I wonder what that's about. There's also a missing freeze plug. However, someone could have stolen a block heater out of this engine, and that could be what was in this location. Out of total curiosity, let's see if this engine turns over. I am not going to try it too hard because this engine is just sitting in a wooden grate, and I definitely don't want to try to pick this thing up off the floor or catch it. Nope, I have a sneaking suspicion. Yeah, that's a definite no. We're going to start in the back. I'm going to take all the heat shields off and get all the exhaust components off. That was good. Now I'm just going to start taking some of this stuff off. Here's the glow plug module. We'll get that off next. And start getting the injectors out. Looks like one side or the other. That was a lot of effort. An 8. Oh, it's got a missing glow plug right there. Okay, all the injectors are unplugged. What is this? I have no idea what this is. I'm sure someone else does, though. Maybe a NOx sensor? I don't know. I'm talking like I know what I'm doing, and I don't. I don't know if this will come off. This will come off, right? I'm just gonna, nope, I can't do that either. Yeah, we're just gonna get this out of the way for right now. We'll deal with that in a moment. Take some bolts out. Start getting the fuel lines off. Got the crank sensor. Just one fuel line. This really needs to leave. What? Why did that just happen? It just oozed, it just sprayed on me and everything. That's thermostat. And that is finally out of the way. And there is the inlet and some pipes that do stuff. And now we can see the turbo, which is also locked up. Seems to be a trend. Oh, nope. Oh, it's fine. I fixed it. Good as new. Not really. Not at all. Now we're starting to get this harness a little further. Oh my gosh, a 13 millimeter on a GM product? Somebody put that there. Well, we are making some progress here, I think. We got this rat's nest almost part of the way off. Almost part of the way off. Ah, I can see stuff. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I can see it. Another fuel line. This is a feed, looks like. There's something that I can't deal with right now, but we're gonna just kind of set it like so. All right, 2 more fuel lines on this bank. Get out of here. What? No. There. Hang out there. Damn, these are pretty tight. I mean, I know you wouldn't want them leaking. At last. Time to get the fuel injectors out. What? That's not supposed to be there. Somebody put a 15 in there. What the heck? Maybe a 14? Yeah, somebody put a 14 there. Who would do such a thing? It wasn't even tight. What an amateur. Yeah, that was just some bolt they had laying around. I don't even know if that's the right thread. That was definitely not the right bolt. Huh. Check that out. These are what's supposed to hold the injectors in, and this is what's holding that injector in. This is great fun already. Now, I don't know how hard these are going to be to get out. Oh, that's not too bad. That's amazingly easy. Is it supposed to be? Let me know if I am supposed to be able to pull those out that easily. I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky. Nope, that is easy. Oh, I love it. Okay, well that O-ring, yeah, that's nice. That's on there, right? Just kind of like wherever it wants to be. Next, we're going to pull this pipe off. This is what comes from the intercooler and feeds the intake manifolds with pressurized air from the turbo. More 13s. I don't know if it's supposed to be a mixture, but I feel like it isn't. Oh, that's pretty cruddy looking. It's not too bad. And here's the EGR valve. We're going to take this off and the EGR cooler next. This is pretty much the only emissions equipment that these trucks came with that I'm aware of anyway. I think we're going to pull the valve with the cooler if possible. That's 14. I've used every socket so far. I know there's more. There's never just two. Wow, that's it. And now you guys can see that big, well, I guess it could be, yeah, it's got a hole in it. But I can, nope. Just gonna cut this. Nobody wants this hose. I don't think anybody wants the valve or the cooler either. Wow, that is surprisingly heavy. Next, we're gonna take the fuel filter stand off of the valve cover. And I'm actually going to keep this here at the shop because when these trucks get hit real hard on the right side, it can break this. We've had a couple Duramax trucks in that were hit pretty hard, and one time we had to buy a brand new one. So because of that, I'm going to hoard this part, which will save me money at some point, perhaps. Oh, I could have gone without that. Diesel on the face. Ugh. Doesn't taste very good either. All right, we're going to continue working on this harness here. See if we can get this thing all the way off so it's out of the way. Now just the glow plugs. There's no way that's it. Nope, it's just a little bit more. Looks like a couple grounds. All right, one LLY harness. It doesn't appear to be damaged. Next, we're going to remove the Thicken bracket, which I wish the Thicken was still here. That would be really nice. Next, we're going to get the fuel lines off so we can get these injectors out. I love it. I don't see any signs of damage on the injectors. I don't think this one was installed quite right. So it's kind of adhered to here, so it tells me it sat there with this O-ring kind of, there we go, we fixed it. It was clear that someone had been in there. That wrong bolt, that's kind of troublesome. I wonder if that head's got some damage. Now we're going to start prepping to get this turbo out of here. Kind of get some of this stuff out of the way. This is the feed from the pump. That was unnecessarily tight. All right, we're gonna pull the rails, I guess. This will come out of the way pretty easily. I say that, I might put my foot in my mouth. Ah, look at all that room. Room for activities. There's one fuel rail totally off. There we are. I got quite a pile of parts and I feel like I haven't done anything yet. Next, we're going to get the turbo off. To get the turbo off, we have to take a few things off. One of the coolant lines here, the oil feed is here. Here is the oil return. We'll just unbolt that and pull the oil return with the turbo. And then there are 3 bolts that hold the exhaust housing to the block. 2 of them look really easy. One of them looks less easy. This doesn't look too bad, if I'm being honest. So this first, we'll start with the oil feed. That was too easy. And now one of the coolant lines. Let's get that oil return loose. Okay. Now we just have the 3 big bolts that hold the turbo onto the block. All right, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to get the hard one first. I'm going to feed the extension through this gap here because I don't think the socket will fit. I lied. All right, so that's not as hard as I thought. I don't know if I can get it on the actual head of the bolt though. I can touch it, but that's not going to do it. Oh. Give it a little tap. That'll do it. Well, I left my socket behind, but it got the bolt out. And that's what's most important. I'll get the socket in a minute. And we are loose. Okay, let's see if I got this right. That is heavy. So here's the turbo, and it actually looks halfway decent. I think this engine was sitting on the flywheel for quite some time, which meant the turbo was sitting in a bad position for a while. I still don't know that I would trust it. The oil coming out of the oil return is gross, but it doesn't look terrible. It's not bad, but I'll probably sell it as a core because it was locked up when I first got to it. I don't know, it's freeing up. These aren't terribly expensive in the first place, so if I sell it as a core or a good unit, the price isn't that different. Next, we're going to pull this bracket off here and start taking some of the stuff off the front of this engine. That is not the water pump. So this is likely the water pump here. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just the guy pulling bolts out until stuff falls off. I guess I should probably pull the crank pulley bolt out, huh? Okay, here goes nothing. Wow. I'm impressed, but now I have to get the crank pulley off. And I feel like, do I need a puller for this? It's keyed. I shouldn't need a puller for this. I need a pry bar for this. Right? A pry bar. I'm using the right tool, right? Right? I don't want to do that too much. know how I'd get a puller on it anyway. It's not threaded. Okay, let's see if we can work this thing back and forth. Look at that. That's awesome. It's probably really heavy too. So we're gonna just, whoa. That's heavy. All right, time to continuing. So many 12 millimeters. Oh, does this come off that easy? I don't know if that comes off like that. I don't know what I'm doing. But that didn't just occur to me. No. There we are. That sounds good. Yeah, we're fixing it. Thing almost bit me. More bolts. Okay, it looks like all I've got left are the ones that hold the pan to it. Three more bolts. Are there any more hiders somewhere? I think I've got them all. Let's see what happens. I think we're getting somewhere. Yes. And the timing cover's off. Looks pretty clean in there. It's our first look inside. These don't have timing chains apparently. So there's the high pressure pump, and there's the cam, there's the oil pump. There's some cool gear stuff that I don't know what it does. It drives some of the other stuff. This looks like a trigger wheel for RPM signal. Cool. Nothing blown up yet. Now we're going to get this pipe off, and then this piece which splits to each manifold. I think this is just O-ringed in here. Oh yes. Yep. Double O-ring. Wow, look how choked up that is. How'd you like that in your spaghetti? Now I'm going to try to get this piece out, and I'll be honest, I don't really see how it comes out unless you pull a head. Like, you have to align this as you pull the head. The intake manifolds are studded on both sides, and this is studded on both sides. So something's going to give here. Aha! These bottom ones are slotted. Suzu knows what they're doing. There we are. Yuck. Now we're going to take a minute and try to get the pump off. And I say try, because I don't know if this will come out with the heads or the intake manifolds on. And I'm going to try to pull the heads with the intake manifold. I'm going to try. First thing, we're going to get that nut off. That's what she said. Oh, it moves. Would you look at that? All right, I put the nut back on so that I don't accidentally hit them with this hammer. We're going to kind of give this gear a couple taps, see if I can. Okay. I'm not quite sure what I have achieved at this point. What? This whole thing comes out? Are you serious? This whole thing comes out. Okay. So, guys, if you had any idea, if you had any thought that I knew what I was doing, put that thought to rest. I don't know what I'm doing. This is like Tetris. Come on. Think back. Every hour in school. And what we're going to do, we're going to pull that map sensor out of the way. Voila! And now we're going to try to pull the valve covers off so we can get these heads off. That's actually really clean in there. All right, now we're going to get, okay, we already got the valve cover off, and this is the valve cover. So we're going to get that off so we can take a look at the valve train. Okay, we definitely don't want to strip any of these. Oh man, this is going to be fun. And this is the last bolt, and it is the one that's kind of screwing me here. Kind of fish some of the junk out of here. I'm going to have to do that on the other side, make sure all of it's out before I try to crack these loose. That's the ticket to get all that stuff out so that the socket can go all the way in. I hate to say it, but I almost prefer Torx to hex head. Come on, please. Yes. All right, let's pull the actual valve cover off. Uh-oh. I see why. I see why. Well, here is what's left of... It looks like there's an easy out in there. Wow. That looks like, actually, it looks like a tap. It looks like they broke a tap off in here. And then what they must have done is put a threaded insert in the part I just pulled off so that the injector could still be held down. Sure, that fixed it. You guys did a good job there. I don't know what the deal is with these hacks lately, but I wouldn't do that. Nope, that needs to be extracted. Well, let's get the push rods out. See if we find any signs of chaos inside. These all look pretty good. Now we're going to start pulling the small head bolts out of the top, and then we'll get all the big ones and get this head out of the way. I have no idea how heavy this is. I bet it's heavy. It looks heavy. It's not that... Oh, I see why it didn't turn. Well, there's a little bit of rust in here. And when I say a little bit, I'm being sarcastic. It's totally rusted shut. There was not a breaker bar in St. Louis that was going to get this to turn over. So what kind of science experiment do you think that is? Or that? Or that? This looks pretty good too. Looks like that valve isn't seated. Another science experiment. Some kind of jelly. Why did I touch that? This doesn't look good. Let's see if look at this head gasket. You know, I noted when I was taking the head bolts out that a couple of them came out a lot easier than the rest. I bet the heads have been off of this engine and someone didn't torque them correctly. Or maybe the head's warped and they didn't get it checked for straightness. Both possibilities here. We're going to start with the valve cover and then we'll get the valve cover off. Make sure we get all these cleaned out. Don't want to risk stripping another one. All these look pretty good. That was totally unnecessary. Let's get the rocker assembly out of the way. Oh, no damaged push rods. Uh-oh. Got some damaged valves. Broken. The top of the valve is broken off inside there. I'll show you that in a second. Check that out. The tip of that valve was broken. Same with that one. I pulled those little bridges out of the way, and little chunks of metal came out of them. I was like, what the heck? Let's get the 6mm Allen head bolts out. That one wasn't very tight. Noticing a trend here. Some of those were not tight enough. There we go. Uh-oh. Holy crap. Well, right off the bat, we have some more science experiments. And we've got 1, 2, 3 valves. What is that? Wow. That's awesome. Look at that. And there too, torched holes in the head. I am impressed. I don't think those heads are serviceable anymore. That is pretty impressive. That still doesn't explain why the end of those valves is broken. I don't know, maybe there's some stuff caught in here. What would hang these valves open? It's obvious that the head gasket's in pretty bad shape. Look at that, torched steel head gasket. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And that piston definitely has an indentation from making contact with a valve. I would imagine that if I cleaned up the rest of these science experiments, the rest of these would too, or at least some of these would. And that one does too. Wow. Well, it's clear that that's from coolant. I've got this engine sitting on its tail, so now we can get this lower oil pan off. Oh, that's gross, and it's not drained. I found 2 tags on the dipstick, one with the interchange and stock number, and the other says drained. One of these is correct, the other clearly is not. The inside of the oil pan is filled with unidentifiable material. It's goop. Well, in order to get the upper oil pan off, I have to take this bell housing plate off. These changed based on the application. I think I said that in other videos. And give it a little tap. Well, I actually have to take a few of the bolts out of the oil pan here. There we go. Okay, maybe I have them all. Maybe. I think I got them all. Now I got them all. Ah. There's the upper pan. And there's the bell housing adapter. I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't know if this is going to come all the way apart. I mean, we are going to try, But with that much rust in the cylinders, I don't know if I want to be here till Wednesday. It is now Sunday. I'm going to give it my best. But let's get some stuff off the front of this thing and see if we can at least get the cam out and the oil pump. Let's get it stripped down a little further. Alright, now it looks like we got some 6mm Allens to hold this oil pump on. And 2 12s in the back for the pickup. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought. This is not as cool looking as a Cummins, but it is still an oil pump. That didn't do anything for me. So it looks like we just need to turn this to where we get the keepers. But I can't do that. Wait a minute. This locked up crank is going to keep us from getting the cam out. Let's keep trying stuff here. Oh, it smells awful. And I Loctite it in. Alright, let's get this cam out of here. If I even can. Boop! The cam looks pretty good. I'm not sure if this is a wear item on these engines, if this is like something that never goes bad. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's get this pickup out of here. Well, I pulled the motor mount brackets off. And another freeze plug is missing, and the other side still has the block heater. So, why are the freeze plugs gone? Let's get some rod caps loose and see if we can get this crank to move. I have my reservations about this. If I could get a couple rods and pistons out of this, I'll be happy. Oh, there's one cap. Alright, I got my trusty piece of wood here. That just laughed at it. Like, it's literally laughing at it. Let's try this one. Well, I'm going to have to resort to less conventional methods. Well, I got it to move. Enough to get the bearing out. Which doesn't look bad. Wow. This is going to be a fight. I don't even think I can get the crank out of it. I mean, I don't have access to most of the rod cap bolts. God, I hate throwing the towel in. I just don't know how this is going to work. I mean, it's literally laughing at me. I might have to call it. This definitely sat for quite some time with coolant in these cylinders. It's really a shame. I really, really hate to end a video without getting it completely torn down. It feels like I'm cheating, like I'm not finishing my work, yet I'm still getting paid. But I think it's the right call. For me to get this engine the rest of the way torn down tonight, it's going to take a lot of effort and time, both of which I'm just out of. Plus, it'll likely destroy the very parts I'm trying to save. So I think the right call here is to let this soak with some penetrant in the cylinders and let it sit on the shelf for a few weeks, and I'll come back to it at a later date. I'm not giving up. It's just not going to be in the video today. And if you guys have any tips or tricks to get this apart, I'm listening. I've learned a lot from you guys over the last several months. For you diesel techs that do this every single day, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. This is a dirty, nasty, smelly job, and I can only muster one of these teardowns a month. It destroys half of my shop. My tools stink. I stink. It's just not for me. So you guys that do this every day, props to you. As far as what happened to this poor engine, this poor LLY, well, I think it was tortured. I mean, whoever worked on that Viper engine likely also worked on this engine because it is rough. First, we found a stripped out or the wrong bolt holding the injector down, and then someone broke a tap trying to rethread it, and then they just left it. That's the next guy's problem. And then half of the head bolts weren't even tight, which let the heads likely warp and the head gaskets breach, and it torched one of the heads. I mean, there is no way this engine ran. No way. And then it likely sat for some time with coolant in the cylinders, which is why it's so rusty. What likely happened is this engine was locked up. Some tow lot or salvage yard got this truck. They pulled the engine out, sent it to the place that I got it from. They looked at it for 2 seconds and went, nope. And then I bought it. And I went, yep. Because I say yep to everything. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys watching. I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all. And if you'd like to buy parts from this engine, I'm going to leave my email in the video description. So I'll catch you on the next one.